Yo, what's up guys? It's Louis. It's your boy Louis back with another video, and today I'm going to be starting, I guess, a little audiobook experience. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading the book word for word, and then once uh I I'm gonna read it by chapter, and once I'm done reading it, I'm gonna make a separate video talk about like the summary and explain to y'all what I got out of it. Because if y'all don't want to read the book, so the reason why I'm doing the book I'm doing, as you can see in the title, it's gonna be Jesus Was an Airborne Ranger, and I just kind of want to show y'all this because I believe names have a purpose, and my name means Luis, which means mighty warrior, and I think in Jesus is also like, as we're gonna learn from the book, the ultimate warrior, an airborne ranger, which is like top of, it's better than Marines, you know what I mean? Almost up there with the Navy SEAL. Actually, I don't know. I'm just yapping. I just kind of want to make this at the spot because I was on my bed. Hold on, let me show you real quick. My bed. I know, a little messy. I'm on my bed, and I was like, wait, why don't I just like, why don't I say it out loud to y'all so we can both learn? You know what I mean? Because ultimately, this is what I want this channel to be about. I want this like to be a leadership channel. I want this to spiritually feed y'all. I want this to be a place where I don't want you to binge watch all my videos, where you can just watch one video and then go out into the world fully equipped. You know what I mean? This is gonna be like a military base. We're gonna send y'all to war, and even if you're not religious, I just want you to get to know my Jesus, and we both learn to a new light by me reading this out loud. It's gonna help me. You know what I mean? It's gonna help me, and because when you speak it out loud, you speak it, you hear it, and you see it, and it help you, help me. And one more thing, and leadership is the rise and fall of everything. You know what I mean? Great churches, great businesses, great militaries, they all need great leaders. If you don't have a great leader, they all fall. Just like NBA, I'm a big NBA fan, and Adam Silver is a terrible leader. I can't say how it is, and that's why NBA is such a bad place. LeBron James, we'll talk about a separate video, but let's get it going. So today I'm just going to be reading the intro and the first chapter. Y'all. Alright, Jesus was an airborne ranger. Let's go. Fix this camera angle real quick. Alright, making the jump. You're called to be God's airborne ranger. Green light, go. At the command, the entire mass of men and equipment inside the C-17 globe masters spring to life. Hearts pounding and breathing, quick prayers, 100 patroons. Okay, no, hold on. Introduction. Making the jump. You're called to be God's airborne ranger. Green light, go. At the command, the entire mass of men and equipment inside the C-17 globe masters spring to life. Hearts pounding and breathing, quick prayers, 100 paratroopers shuffled toward the jump master at the rear of the aircraft. In the two open doors outside the plane, all was inky darkness. Each man carried a 38-pound parachute. You know what? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna make this video the intro, and then we'll make a first chapter another day. But thank you. Each man carried a 38-pound parachute on his back, a 15-pound reserve chute on his stomach, a 60 to 80-pound rucksack hanging around his knees, and a rifle attached at his left hip. With one hand, he clenched a yellow static line. With the other, he grasped his reserve parachute. Each paratrooper pivoted at the door and then flung his body into the void. One of those paratroopers was me. I make this jump many times in training, but this night in March 2003 was different. This night I was standing in combat in Iraq. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, I counted as I plummeted until snap. The shock told my body that my T-10D parachute had successfully deployed. In the darkness, I could barely make out the faint glow of our objective, a cement tarmac, slowly approaching some 400 feet below me, aside from the pair of tan-sued combat boots in my view. The scene looked exactly like the satellite imagery I had studied earlier that week. Simultaneously, all around me, paratroopers were jumping from other planes 1,000 men were assigned to this mission. Our orders were to seize and control a remote runway in northern Iraq. Once the runway was secure and could bring in more men and material to establish a second front in this now 7-day-old war, the ground drew closer still, and I brought my feet and knees together, knees slightly bent and braced for impact. I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. We were all loaded heavier than usual. Inside my rucksack, I carried a radio and spare batteries, 2 mortar rounds, and a basic load of ammunition. The ground flew toward me. Wham! I slammed the pavement like a brick. Momentarily, I stunned. I laid on my back, looking into the night sky filled with jumpers. Mentally, I checked for injuries. Finding none, I stood, got out of my parachute harness, removed my M4 carabine from its case, and chambered the first round. Looking at the landmarks on the ground and the men around me, I realized something that was true of both my location and my calling as an airborne ranger. I was right where I was supposed to be. Okay. Dropped into battle. Soldiers aren't the only ones dropped into battle. You may have never worn combat fatigues, but like me, you suddenly find yourself in the middle of a war. Maybe your integrity is threatened. You face a harmful path, but it looks enticing. You're tempted to cave under the pressure. What do? Maybe your marriage or home life is a war zone. A conflict lingers no matter how you try to solve it. Days and nights feel chaotic, dark, heavy. You wonder where to turn. Maybe the bombs of personal crisis has detonated. The ones you value most lie bleeding and wounded. They look to you for leadership, but you don't know what to do. Maybe security slips through your fingers. You work hard to be a good provider to those who matter most, but you can't get ahead. Your foundations feel unsettled. Your future feels vulnerable to attack. Maybe you long for greater purpose. Your days are filled with activity, but to what end? A sense of meaning is missing. You want to do something lasting, significant? True. You may not realize this, but someone fights in front of you and beside you, humanity's greatest warrior, and he is calling you to join him in fulfilling history's greatest mission. There's a good news. Although this world is filled with combat and casualties, you were made for this fight. You were designed for the front lines. You are right where you are supposed to be, and you are not alone in the battle. You may not realize this, but someone fights in front of you and beside you, humanity's greatest warrior. He is calling you to join him in fulfilling history's greatest mission. No matter what fight you're facing today, you can win your battles when you follow the warrior Christ. My mission that night in Iraq was to seize a runaway in contested territory, and we did it. But God has something far more significant and lasting for you to accomplish. In the pages ahead, I want to show you what that is. My mission. I've been an airborne ranger for most of my adult life. I finished airborne training at age 22, and I graduated from the U.S. Army Ranger School 9 months later. I served more than 10 years in airborne and ranger assignments, being a part of such famed units as 173rd Airborne Barrage, the 82nd Airborne Division, and the 75th Ranger Regiment. In that decade of service, I completed more than 65 parachute jumps, including the night combat jump I just described, into 7 countries on 4 continents. As a graduate of Jump Master training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, I inspected hundreds of parachutes for potential hazards and safely led dozens of airborne operations. I deployed multiple times to hostile areas including Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. I spent much of my life serving along some of our nation's greatest soldiers. But while I've been an airborne ranger a long time, I've been a follower of Warrior Christ even longer. So it came to no great surprise to me when, while shaving at the bathroom sink in Kirkuk, Iraq on November 17, 2003, I heard God calling me to leave the infantry and become an army chaplain. In the days that followed, God showed me that He would use my experiences as an airborne ranger to help me minister to this unique and elite company of warriors. He brought me to these units to teach me in language, culture, and customs for this group so that one day I could be their chaplain. That's what I am today, a pastor to airborne rangers. I am writing these words while stationed in Afghanistan, surrounded by elite warriors who willingly don the uniform and stand in the gap to defend you and me. How do most church today portray Jesus? He is the tender shepherd, meek and mild. He's a long-haired boyfriend we're all supposed to sing love songs to. He is the bearded therapist who wishes we all become nice guys and we'll all know where nice guys finish. Yeah, good point. See how many pages we have left, y'all. Okay. We're about halfway. Over the years, as I've listened to Rangers share their experiences with Christianity, I've noticed a problem. It showed up again and again, mind you. These warriors are among the toughest of the tough. They are the type of men who walk into their army career center, slam their fists on the desk, glare at the recruiter, and growl, "Give me the hardest thing you've got." But here's the tension. It's hard for tough guys to follow Jesus. The problem isn't Jesus. The problem is the Jesus who was presented to them. Ask yourself, how do most churches today portray Jesus? He's the tender shepherd, meek and mild. He is the long-haired boyfriend, the one we're all supposed to sing love songs to. He is the bearded therapist who wishes we'd all become nice guys and we'll all know where nice guys finish. How can our nation fighting men possibly relate to such a pale-faced, slack-jawed pretty boy? Perhaps you felt the same. It's not just soldiers who are put off by the image of wimpy Jesus. Lots of men and women have the same reaction. We've been handed a skewed, sanitized, and weakened, undersized understanding of Jesus. Not only in this bad theology, but also it gives us a bad role model. Real men can't relate to this feminized Christ, and they shouldn't have to. The Sunday school Jesus gave us no understanding of why we're here on earth, what we're up against, and what we're supposed to do. We need something more. I'm writing this book to show a different kind of Jesus. I want to help reclaim who Christ really is, the Christ of the Bible. I want you to understand that Jesus is wilder and tougher than you could ever imagine, and I want to help you find in his story your own life-defining missions. I'm going to use a military analogy throughout this book to accomplish that. Following Christ to conquer. Does it sound strange to compare Jesus to an army ranger? Of course. Jesus never served in the military, wore camouflage, or jumped out of an airplane with an assault rifle. I get that. But I'm putting the picture of a ranger in front of you as a helpful illustration of who Jesus was, how he lived his life, and what he calls his followers to do. Let's put the imaginary in a nutshell. An airborne ranger executes daring missions to rescue humanity at the cost of his own life. That's exactly what Jesus does for us. This is no daytime talk show Jesus. This is a medal of honor worthy Jesus. Someone men would want to honor and emulate. Let's see him as he really is, a battle-scarred combatant who stared death in the face and won. In the classic case, Mere Christianity, theologian C.S. Lewis wrote, "Enemy occupied territory, that is what the world is. Christianity is the story of how rightful king has landed, you might say landed in disguise, and is calling us all to take part in a great campaign of sabotage. I wholeheartedly agree. We are trapped in a hostile territory. Our rescuer has come to save us. Some will argue that this military talk goes too far. After all, didn't Jesus come as the Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6? Didn't he tell us to turn the other cheek, Luke 6:29? You got a point. Yes, but these lines don't tell the whole story. Jesus was not a bloodthirsty warmonger, but he wasn't a non-confrontational wimp either. Against great odds, he defied an empire and changed history. Men and women called him master. They took his message around the world. They stayed true to him even when it cost them their lives. Jesus was like an elite, divinely commissioned soldier. He was strong. He was on an important mission, and he courageously squared off against the enemy of our souls. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. We have to ask, who was this Jesus really? I think that the ranger analogy can help us a fresh view. The biblical picture of Christ looks like this. Jesus was an elite, divinely commissioned soldier. He was strong. He was on an important mission, and he courageously squared off against the enemy of our souls. When we recover this neglected aspect of our identity, then we can restore a balance of understanding of his person and work. I didn't invent this view of Christ. My portrayal of him as an airborne ranger is merely a modern twist on an ancient Christian understanding. As early as the 1st century AD, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus were being compared to a great military victory over a formidable enemy. This doctrine is called Christus Victor, Latin for Christ the Conqueror. In many centuries, it served as the primary framework for understanding Jesus' mission on earth. It kind of sounds like Cain the Conqueror, from like Avengers. According to this doctrine, the skirmish in the Garden of Eden was nothing short of military coup. Satan, a chief angel, unsurpassed God's rightful rule as king and placed humanity in slavery. 2 Peter 2:19, 1 John 5:19. Not willing to surrender, God dispatched his greatest warrior to defeat the enemy and rescue his people. Genesis 3:15, Matthew 1:21. About this great victory, Jesus said, "Take heart, because I have overcome, conquered, or prevailed over the world." John 16:33. The Apostle Paul added that Christ descended to a lowly world and then led a crowd of captives away to high ground. Ephesians 4:8-9 from Psalm 68:18. In other words, he came to earth to defeat our great captor and take us to be with him. I believe that as Western society has grown more domesticated and protected from hard realities, we have rejected Christus Victor and a little of more palatable doctrines. Now, many view war as inherently evil and peace as supremely victorious. To suit our sensibilities, we have sanitized the person and the story of Jesus, removing any mention of conflict or battle. If you agree even a little bit with my argument, then you can see that this adds up to a huge loss, especially for men. This is Masonic makeover strips from Christ anything heroic or noble. The resulting religion is like our new deity, spineless, spiritless, lifeless. No wonder many Christians feel as if they are just going through the motions in life. No wonder so many men I know don't feel at home in most worship services and small groups. We have lost the man on a mission intensity that drove Jesus to the cross. A boy band Jesus will never change the brokenness in our world. And if you and I follow that kind of Jesus, neither will we. This Masonic makeover strips from Christ anything heroic or noble. The resulting religion is like our new deity, spineless, spiritless, lifeless. We need to shove aside the pretty boy image of Christ. We need to meet and follow the Christ, the Conqueror. Most men I've talked to, whether civilian or military, are just not compelled to give their lives to a lesser Lord. Why should they be? Why should you be? The life you were meant to lead is not enough to merely be aware of the real Jesus. A superficial introduction won't do. We need to take another look at the whole amazing story of Scripture. If we do, we'll come to know Jesus as our heaven-sent rescuer, and we'll understand that our directive is to follow him wholeheartedly, his passion, his purpose, and yes, his heroic sacrifice. The life you were meant to lead, that was above all that. Okay, looks like we're going to be finished before 25 minutes. It's like 20-minute read because I spoke for like 2 minutes. I don't know about you, but the meek Messiah is far too timid to confront the present realities of evil that I, my family, and my fighting men face every day. He's much too tolerant to stand up for what's right and true and noble and good. If we follow the wrong Jesus, then we will become like favorless salt or hidden candle, completely useless. Matthew 5:13-15. Many Christians today have a bunker mentality, content to wait in the relative calm of their churches. While enemies shelling wreaks havoc on families and individuals outside in the military, we give such soldiers the worst possible defeat. Cowards. No self-respecting ranger wants to sit on the sidelines while others do the fighting. On a recent deployment to Afghanistan, my commander made the difficult decision to leave one of our 150-man companies at home station. The average person might have been relieved to avoid combat duty, but not these rangers. Many were devastated. They all wanted to contribute to the fight. Once a warrior, Private First Class Luke Holtz, after his older brother Tyler was killed in Afghanistan with the Ranger in 2011. Luke volunteered to don the uniform and serve in the same unit. He wanted so badly to deploy to confront evils face to face as Tyler had. In 2013, Luke got his wish and deployed to Logar, Providence, the area where his brother had fallen 2 years earlier. Luke said to me, "I'm only in the Rangers for a few years. I want to make the most of it." You want to make the most of your life, right? I do too. And here's my promise to you. As we grasp the truth of the warrior of Christ, we will understand what it means to be men and women of God. We'll find our real identity and purpose. We will follow the warrior of Christ. We will be set free from despair, darkness, and purposelessness in our marriages, families, churches, and communities. And we will be used by God to set others free. Only a warrior of Christ can so positively impact this fractured planet. Let me set this. If I'm tempted to go back, they say that if your seat is more like, you know what I'm saying, straighten out, the more focused you'll be. Pay attention when, like right now. Only a warrior Christ can positively impact the fractured planet. In Ranger vernacular, Jesus was a bad cheeks. He says badass. Are you appalled at the use of that mildly irreverent term to describe the Son of God, or is your heart stirred at the thought of Jesus being tough enough to merit that label? Warriors use that term not as an insult. Fue bien chingón el Jesucristo. As a result, but as a badge of honor. If any soldier deserves that label, then Jesus does even more so. And we should want the same to be said for us. The church has plenty of lukewarm Christians who honor God with their lips, but whose hearts are far from you. Matthew 15:18. God is looking for true warriors who will trade all that this life offers for privilege to take up arms and charge the field besides him in defiance of our great enemy. Jesus referred to this aggressive and determined spirit. The kingdom of heaven has been forcefully advancing, and forceful men lay hold of it. Matthew 11:12. Jesus certainly was the kind of forceful man. He calls us to be vigorously advance his kingdom, a spiritual badasses, in our homes, communities, and world. Ahead, you'll find action stories from the Bible, history, my own life, and battles known today. You'll find practical teachings on a way of life that works. You'll see Christ's mission of justice, mercy, and ultimately redemption unfold. You'll watch him overthrow the status quo, make all things new, and call you to be part of the mission. You'll read the Bible, and you'll never read the Bible in the same way again. But more important than that, you'll never see it roll in the life the same. Hold on, we only got one more page, but so yeah, let's keep going. Wait again. Why? Because the warrior of Christ's mission in the world did not end with the departed this earth to return to heaven. He's still working his will in a world plagued by evil and filled with great needs, and he's using ordinary people like you and me to complete this mission. So as you let yourself be drawn into the warrior of Christ's ongoing mission in the world, your life will take on meaning, worth, importance, and excitement, and both higher risk and higher rewards than you ever experienced before. Jesus didn't lead a wimpy life as he has unfortunately been portrayed as doing. You don't need to lead a wimpy life either. In fact, Jesus is calling you to the exact opposite. A life that's bold, active, robust. He is enlisting men and women who are willing to enter enemy territory and to pull mission of the U.S. Army infantry. U.S. Army. I got that shirt on. Oh man, I lost my spot. To close with and destroy the evil in our world. This is a story we were created to hear. This is the mission we are designed to live. The great light is on, my friend, and it's your turn to jump. It's time to enter the fight alongside the first and greatest airborne ranger. Alright guys, and that will conclude the intro. Well, that was a bang. I'm gonna make a short talking about the 3 things I learned. Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing ride. The book's only 200 pages long. I can definitely do that. I'm going to Bible school, and it's teaching our identity in Christ, that God intended, like, we could be like Jesus, and that's not blasphemy. Like we have been robbed. And my pastor who's teaching this, he teaches all around the world. He said 80% people don't know that our true identity in Christ. You know what I mean? Like the church, they preach forgiveness, but they don't preach the kingdom of God, how God wants to advance, how His throne is built on righteousness and justice. And but like people talk about God's throne is built on grace and mercy, but it's not. Jesus was an airborne ranger.